Okay, in this video you will study about the relation between the spherical coordinate systems and the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, let's just start it. Here we are having x, y and z axis of the Cartesian coordinate system, and let's just draw the radius r. If there is the radius r of the sphere, then from the previous lecture we know that this component, this radial component has z is equal to r cos of theta, since theta is the angle between this radial vector and the z axis. Now if you draw the projection of this vector, let's just first determine the value of this vector. This vector or this component is actually equal to r sine of theta. All right, so if I do take the projection of this vector on xy plane, this is basically r sine of theta. Then on x axis it will have its component, or I can also say it as this is equal to r sine of theta cos of phi. All right, and on the y axis its component will be equal to r sine of theta sine of phi. Fine. Now from here we can develop different identities, like x is equal to r sine of theta cos of phi, y is equal to r sine of theta sine of phi, and z is equal to r cos of theta. Okay, now just take squares of both sides and add all these three components, like 1, 2 and 3. You will get x square plus y square plus z square is equal to r square sine square theta cos square phi plus r square sine square theta sine square of phi plus r square cos square theta. Okay, so let's just simplify this expression by taking r square common from it. You will left with sine square theta cos square of phi plus sine square of theta sine square of phi plus sine square cos square of theta. Fine. Now let's just try to simplify it furthermore. If I take sine square theta common from this expression, I will have sine square theta and then cos square of phi plus sine square of phi plus cos square of theta. So from the trigonometric identity we know that sine square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1. So this term will be replaced by 1 and we will left with only r square sine square theta plus cos square theta, and again by applying the trigonometric identity we got the very important result from here, that is r square is equal to x square plus y square plus z square. Fine. So this is the first component that is actually linked with the three Cartesian coordinate components. Okay, now let's just have a look what is the relation between theta and phi. So from z is equal to r cos of theta, I can write it as z over r is equal to cos of theta, and from here I will have theta is equal to cos inverse z over r. This is the second component of the spherical coordinate that I have obtained, that actually links the z component of the Cartesian coordinate and r component of the spherical coordinate. I can completely transform it into the Cartesian coordinate by substituting the values of r, that is equal to x square plus y square plus z square whole under root. Fine. Now let's just simplify, or let's just divide or determine y over x is equal to what. So y over x is actually equal to r sine of theta sine of phi divided by r sine of theta cos of phi. So you can see clearly r sine of theta is common in numerator and denominator, so these terms will be cancelled and we will left with y over x is equal to sine of phi divided by cos of phi is actually equal to tangent of phi. This further implies that phi is equal to tangent inverse of y over x. Fine. So in this way we actually have determined the three components that are linked with the spherical coordinate system and the Cartesian coordinate system. Some things that you must notice, that let me just show you. R sine of theta and r theta are equal only. R sine of theta is equal to radius of the sphere only when theta is equal to 90 degree, or in other words, if you cut the sphere into half circle, half or hemisphere, alright, so you will get the radial component and its projection both equivalent, since r sine of 90 degree is actually equal to r. Okay, so hemisphere surface will have the radial component equal to the actual radius of the sphere. Fine. Now let's just try to get the idea how the differential surfaces and their areas or the differential volume element is obtained in the spherical coordinate system. Okay, so just let's have a look of a sphere again. If you notice, then we know that any measurement taken vertically, from vertically to downward, is actually gives us the measurement of the theta. All right, so let's just say this vertical distance actually shows the increment in theta. All right, similarly this distance, if I just turn it around, and you can see this rotation actually gives us the change or increment in phi. Or if I do get a small patch of this sphere, let me just take it out. Okay, so if this is the radius, literal radius r, then increase in the radius is shown by this. So let's say if the radial distance is actually increased by this dr, if this is certain dr, this is actually certain change in phi, and this vertical change is marked by change in theta, which is actually equal to d phi. So let's just get this small element of a sphere, which is also called the differential element of a sphere. Let me just take it out. All right, so if you notice this small patch that I have taken out from a spherical surface, so this surface is actually pointing in the direction of the radius, it's actually outward. Fine. So when I will calculate the area of this surface, it will be pointing in the direction of the radius. Fine. Similarly here is these two surfaces, one thing more, these two surfaces are parallel to each other. The only difference is of the value of the radius. Let's suppose if radius is equal to 5 unit over here or 2 unit at this point starting from the origin. Okay, so these two surfaces are equal. The only difference is actually the value of the constant radius point. Alright, so it might be 2 over here and might be 5 or 6 or 7 or whatsoever, but with the increased value you can mention. Again, here is an other surface. If you notice this spherical surface, this surface actually shows the plane of a constant phi. Okay, I am marking it with a pointer. So at this surface we know that this is actually the change in length, and this surface actually points in the direction of a phi. Okay, so this surface always points in the direction of phi or increasing value of phi. Fine. So this is the second surface that we have obtained. The third surface that you can see is the top surface, and this surface actually points either upward or at the bottom at the downward. All right, so obviously there are always two directions associated, one shows the increment or other shows the decremental side. But if you notice the direction of this surface, this is always, or it's always points tangent to the sphere. Okay, so let's just try to figure out the areas of these differential surfaces, starting from the surface that points in the direction of the radius. Okay, since this is actually extracted like that from the sphere, or let me show it more properly, it was extracted like that from the sphere. So obviously this surface is actually pointing in the direction of the radius or something like that. Okay, now let's just compare this piece of a sphere with the diagram I have drawn over here. So this is just similar to that. This side is actually shown by this small patch. Similarly, this top surface is actually representing this area. Okay, and this front patch is actually represented by this. Now let's just mention the directions of all these surfaces. This surface S1 is actually pointing in the direction of the radius or AR. If I draw it separately, I can also mention it like that. So this is actually the surface that I have obtained, and it is marked by S1. We know that this vertical increment or change in theta side will have the length equal to the arc, and the length of arc is actually equal to r d theta. Okay, and this is also the length with the change in phi, and we know that this is because of the radial component r sine of theta and then change in phi. So the length of this radial line is actually equal to r sine of theta, which was actually the radius of the disc. Okay, so that's why the area of S1 which points in the direction of the radius is equal to, I am just writing it by DSR over here, this is actually equal to r sine of theta d phi multiply by r d theta. When you will just simplify it, you will get r square sine theta d theta d phi, and this points in the direction of the radius. Okay, so this surface will have the area equal to r square sine theta d theta d phi. Now let's just calculate the surface area of the other plane or a surface marked by S2, and it points in the direction of phi. Alright, again this length is actually equal to rd theta, and this length is actually equal to change in the radius line. So So the surface area that points in the direction of phi is actually equal to r dr d theta, r dr d theta. Fine. And now the last surface that is left, let's just mark it by S3, and the area of this surface pointing in the direction of theta is equal to the product of the length of this arc, which is actually equal to r sine theta d phi, and with the dr. Okay, so dr is actually multiplied by r sine of theta d phi. Let's just simplify it. You will get r sine theta dr d phi. Fine. So these are the surface areas of the three surfaces that we actually get by taking this small or the differential element. Fine. Now what would be the volume of this portion or a small patch that we obtain of a sphere? Okay, so this small patch will have the volume equal to the product of all the lengths of its lengths. Fine. So differential volume element will be equal to, let's just multiply dr by r d theta by r sine of theta d phi, and simplify this expression. You will get r square sine theta dr d theta d phi. Fine. So in this way we actually get the differential volume element and the surface areas in the spherical coordinate systems. If you have any queries related to this topic, you can drop your comments, or you can post your questions in the comment section. All right, thank you for watching.